Hello, beautiful humans. Here is a section of 1 Nephi chapter 17 to help get us ready for class this week and just have our minds be thinking about what's going on here in the story and what that has to do with us. How does that relate to us? How does that relate to the concepts in class? How does that relate to freedom? How does that relate to just living inside of joy and your best life kind of thing? All right, chapter 17. And it came to pass that we did again take our journey in the wilderness. So they're still in the wilderness. They've already gotten the plates. They've gotten the girls. They're married. They're in the wilderness, heading still out to Bountiful. And we did travel nearly eastward from that time forth, and we did travel and wade through much affliction in the wilderness, and our women did bear children in the wilderness. And so great were the blessings of the Lord upon us, that while we did live upon raw meat in the wilderness, our women gave plenty of suck for their children, and were strong, yea, even like unto the men. And they began to bear their journeyings without murmurings. And thus we see that the commandments of God must be fulfilled. I read this one on my mission, and it changed my life then, and it still strikes me now, because it delineates the list of how God shows up for us. What does he do? What does that mean that God shows up for us in our lives? And thus we see that the commandments of God must be fulfilled. Verse 3, and if it so be that the children of men, and you can put your name right in there, if it so be that Marilyn keep the commandments of God, he doth nourish her and strengthen her, and provide means whereby she can accomplish the thing which he has commanded her. Wherefore he did provide means for us while we did sojourn in the wilderness. Strengthen, nourish, strengthen, provide means. And you can see that in your life. Where has God done that? And it's best to look backwards and kind of delineate those things. And we did sojourn for the space of many years, yea, even 8 years in the wilderness. And we did come to the land which we called Bountiful, because of its much fruit and wild honey. And all these things were prepared of the Lord, that we might not perish. There's a family called the Proctors, and they run the Meridian magazine. And we ran into them they're from Alpine. We ran into them in Puerto Rico as they were serving their mission. They're still there. They come home in November. But they were telling me that in all of their travels all over the world, they take tours, and people, they went to the country of Oman, and right on the strip, Oman is this big peninsula out, I believe it's Saudi Arabia here. It's down here, and I may be getting my details wrong, but directionally, there's this swath of monsoon that comes through, this dry desert moonscape into lush, into green. And they went down there. They actually took an archaeologist or a geologist, and they're like, so literally on the ground, went to Oman and said, so what do you think's, you got any ore down here? Would this place be able to sustain, like, could you find any ore in these rocks? He's like, I don't know. I mean, if you could, it'd kind of just be like enough just to make some tools or something. They're like, our jaws dropped down to the floor as soon as they said that. So cool. Anyway, so much fruit, wild honey, and we beheld the sea, which we called Ariantum, which being interpreted as many waters. And it came to pass that we did pitch our tents by the seashore, and notwithstanding we had suffered many afflictions and much difficulty, yea, even so much that we cannot write them all, we were exceedingly rejoiced when we came to the seashore, and we called the place Bountiful because of its much fruit. And it came to pass that after I, Nephi, had been in the land of Bountiful for the space of many days, the voice of the Lord came unto me, saying, interesting, many days. He doesn't always come on day one, 6 a.m. But he comes. Arise and get thee into the mountain. And it came to pass that I arose and went up into the mountain and cried unto the Lord. When you have a prompting, go. Do it. so interesting, actually. This last weekend's been really hard. My parents are getting older, and my brother came to visit, and he's like, oof, you know what? We're going to have to figure out how to empty out this garage, get the cars in the garage. They can't be out on the ice and snow driveway. We're going to need to figure out how to build some ramps so they can get into their house. And part of cleaning out the garage is selling the ATVs. And I made a story that selling the ATVs meant that my parents weren't allowed to have any more fun, that life was just going to be bumping down from here on for them, that this was just going to be so hard and difficult, and I was just so sad for them. And I'm a doer, and I like to do things. And so when I can't do things is when I feel out of control, and all of my muscles just tighten up, and I get headaches that make me throw up. They're very painful. So I'm having this barfing migraine, and just going, picking up Luke from my friend's house, and I walk in, and tears are just flowing, and it was such the hand of God, for example, that I had to go pick up Luke after coming and being from my parents' house, and that she was there, and just so kind and so amazing. And then just yesterday, my friend, who's never just been over to my house just to hang out, we're kind of new friends, she shows up at my door with flowers, and she's like, here you go. I'm like, what is this? And she's like, I just had a feeling to bring these over to you. Like, really? I've been in a bad way this week, and I'm normally not much of a crier, and maybe that's why I have the headaches, but I'm normally pretty good, you know? And it's been challenging. And she's just standing on my porch, and she starts crying. She's like, it was really distinct. It was really distinct to bring these over. Oh, so cool. I just took a picture of the flowers. I'm like, this is heaven's love for me on a Tuesday afternoon at 12:22. Kind of awesome. So here's Nephi. I want that listen and respond muscle that she has. And here's Nephi. So I'm there in Bountiful for many days. Voice of the Lord comes, get up into the mountain, and I went up there, and then I prayed. And he doesn't say prayed, he says I cried unto the Lord, which is a different feeling, a different sense. Came to pass, the Lord said unto me, spake unto me, saying, thou shalt construct a ship after the manner which I shall show thee, that I may carry thy people across these waters. And I love how he says that I'm going to carry them across the waters. Nephi, don't you worry about it. You just keep showing up. That's where I get stuck, is I feel like I'm taking on Jesus's role of, I'm a doer. I can do things. What can I do? What can I figure out? And with my parents aging, there's not anything I can do except go over and help and love and show up and make memories and mourn and grieve and be super, super grateful that I have real parents. That's a rare sort of blessing and gift and opportunity. Super grateful. So you're going to build a ship after in the way that I show you. I said, Lord, whither shall I go that I may find ore to molten, that I may make tools to construct a ship after the manner which thou hast shown unto me. Came to pass, the Lord told me whither I should go to find ore, that I might make tools. Came to pass that I, Nephi, did make a bellows wherewith to blow the fire of the skins of beasts. And after I made a bellows, I might have wherewith to blow the fire, and smite two stones together, I might make fire. For the Lord had not hitherto suffered that we should make much fire as we journey in the wilderness. For he said, I will make thy food become sweet, that ye cook it not. If you ever read the book, this always makes me think of Unbroken. Louis Zamperini, the Olympic runner who enlists in the military in World War II, plane goes down. It's an astounding account, but they were on a boat for a long time, and they would grab the seabirds and just eat them raw, because that's what they had. And I think of that every time Nephi says this. We didn't have fire. And I will also be your light in the wilderness, and I will prepare the way before you. And if you will prepare it for Nephi, he will prepare it for you and for me every time. Nephi is not special. We all are tied for first with God. Some of us he can trust more than others, and that's great. That's our development, that's our choices, that's where we're at. But what he promises them, he promises us, because we are righteous and diligent followers and triers, basically, who have a heart, who want a heart like his. So I will prepare the way before you in whatever it is you're doing, in every project of your life, in every hope and dream that you have. If it so be that ye shall keep my commandments, wherefore, inasmuch as ye shall keep my commandments, ye shall be led towards the promised land, and ye shall know that it is by me that ye are led. Almost as if he sets it up so that we go through life knowing that this is a partnership, a joint effort, and not the world according to Marilyn and her muscles and her abilities. That's a core idea. Alma chapter 30, Korihor talks about men get along according to the management of the creature, according to their own genius. Yeah, that takes God right out of the picture. Not that there's not a combination, not that it's not a partnership. There's this really awesome story about a rock pile. And so a man shows up and he transforms this rock pile into this gorgeous garden, and it's so beautiful. And his buddy comes along, his neighbor, and his neighbor, not wanting to have none of the credit be to God, says to his neighbor, hey, that's great what you and God were able to do with this beautiful garden. And he says, yeah, God made everything. He made the earth, he made the seasons, he made the rain, the seed, put the intelligence into the seed. And there's no doing any of this without him. And you should have seen it when it was just belonged to God. Meaning it was a rock pile before and would still be a rock pile had I not come. And I just love that idea, that story of the partnering that we do with heaven. That it's not all on anyone's shoulders, in a sense, that this is a partnership, complementary, and yet, of course, everything begins and ends and is because of God's grace and his creation. So we're not saying that. It's just an adorable story, meaning you can't partner with God without effort. Yea, and the Lord said, also said, and so ye shall know that it is by me that ye are led, verse 13. It's almost as if it has to be so hard or so difficult, so challenging. If this is the realm of our capacity, this is where God wants us to live, or keep dipping into outside of our current capacity, so that growth and transformation can happen. It will be so difficult that you will have to rely on me and know that we are partnering, because I want you to be able to strengthen that faith muscle. Verse 14, yea, and the Lord said also that after ye have arrived in the promised land, ye shall know that I, the Lord, am God, and that I, the Lord, did deliver you from destruction, yea, that I did bring you out of the land of Jerusalem. Once you get to the land of promise, you'll know all of these things. And here comes King Zedekiah's son, Mulek, that they eventually run into, and say that, we just escaped with our lives. Wherefore, I, Nephi, did strive to keep the commandments of the Lord, and I did exhort my brethren to faithfulness and diligence. Those are good words. Faithfulness and diligence. It came to pass that I did make tools out of the ore, which I did molten out of the rock. And when my brethren saw that I was about to build a ship, they began to murmur. Here comes the murmuring and complaining against me, saying, our brother is a fool, for he thinketh that he can build a ship. Yea, and he also thinketh that he can cross these great waters. And thus, my brethren, which isn't what we just read, right? Jesus laid it all out. I will bring you across. I will prepare the way before you. And ye shall know that it is by me ye are led. That's such an important muscle and skill and spiritual gift, to let go and let God, to acknowledge, to, in our family we say God can't steer a parked car, but it's a steering, like as a willing vessel, as a willing student, as a willing partner, where do I go? And I'm not the Savior. I'm never in the Savior's role. And I think that's where that's the stick that I sometimes try to pick up when I feel so overwhelmed and lost, when I can't do something about my circumstances. And I forget that I'm not in charge. It was never up to me. It was never on my shoulders. It was never my job to figure out every difficult thing in the people around me and in my life, in the world and whatever. I'm not the Savior. That's not my role. But I can show up and ask what he would have me do. And I can see a need and fill a need. I can do something, but I don't take it on. I don't. He is at the helm. And in that sense, all is well. If it's well with him and he knows everything and he loves us perfectly, then it is well. And the brothers want to put it all on Nephi. And thus my brethren did complain against me. If you want a really amazing experiment in your life, commit to not complain. Do it for a week and track it. It's fabulous. And were desirous that they might not labor, for they did not believe that I could build a ship. Neither would they believe that I was instructed of the Lord. You can't do it, and no, God didn't tell you to do it. Now it came to pass that I, Nephi, was exceedingly sorrowful because of the hardness of their hearts. And now when they saw that I began to be sorrowful, they were glad in their hearts, insomuch that they did rejoice over me, saying, we knew that ye could not construct a ship. See, you're so sad and bummed because you see the truth of what we're saying, Nephi, which is that you can't do this. You thought you could do this, and their whole premise is wrong, right? It wasn't Nephi doing this. This is Nephi plus Jesus doing this. We knew you were lacking in judgment. You don't know what you're doing. And that's true, right? We don't. If you do know what you're doing, then you're back in preschool and you have no business being there because that's pointless. You're wasting your time. Wherefore thou canst not accomplish so great a work. You can't do this, Nephi. There are thousands to tell you it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you, including failure. Failure is awesome. It's super important. Another word for it is learning and growth and transformation. And thou art like unto our father, led away by the foolish imaginations of his heart. You're just like Dad. You're just like the one who got us into all this. We're just victims here. Dad did all this to us. Yea, he hath led us out of the land of Jerusalem, and we have wandered in the wilderness for these many years, and our women have toiled, being great big with child, and they have borne children in the wilderness, and suffered all these things, save it were death, and it would have been better that they had died before they came out of Jerusalem than to have suffered all these afflictions. That's kind of that nihilistic philosophy of death is better. Death's a great option because the world is so dark and lonely and fearful, and that's the survival of the fittest idea, that without a purpose, without a God, without a plan, without a reason, without a powerful why, without growth and development, without love, without family, heavenly family and earthly, that's where you go, right to it. There's no God. Better if you just died. Forget all this suffering because this is pointless. Behold, these many years we have suffered in the wilderness, which time we might have enjoyed our possessions. Wish we had our stuff, Nephi, and the land of our inheritance, yea, and we might have been happy. And we know that the people who were in the land of Jerusalem, look, we know this is your next argument, Nephi, so let's just get right to it. We know that the people who were in the land of Jerusalem were a righteous people. They kept the statutes and judgments of the Lord. Dad said that they were trying to kill him. He was just off. And all his commandments according to the law of Moses. These guys were great. Wherefore, we know that they are righteous people, and our Father hath judged him. This is just Dad's being so judgy. Why is he got to be such a judgy judgerton, as Candace says? And hath led us away because we would hearken unto his words. Just because we would say yes, that's why. That's why we're here, and that's why he did it. Yea, and our brothers like unto him, and after this manner language of my brethren murmur and complain against us. So much in these verses in this chapter. Okay, I'm going to leave you to that. Please bring your ideas and your thoughts to class. And then I just have a couple of invitations for you. The first one is I want you to write out every project in your life. And the project is defined as anything that has your attention that requires more than one step and can be completed within a year's time. That's the definition from Getting Things Done. Anything that has your attention, give it an item and some space. So on mine, I made quadrants on my paper so that I can have 4 at a time that I'm looking at, and I don't have to just flip through. Oh, here it is right here. So right now, my projects, and I'm gonna spread them out even further. But here's the idea: my spiritual projects, and then space to brainstorm, physical relationship or partnership with Jacques, mama role. Every role, every project, your interests, your dreams, your goals, everything that has your attention, okay? Give it a space with room for brainstorming. After that, I want you to look at each one, and I want you to write out the next actionable step for each project. This is going to clear your brain and get it all out on paper so that your brain doesn't have to hold on to it. Brains are not good at holding on to it. It creates brain fog and like fatigue and distraction and dropping balls and breaking commitments to yourself and to others. It's no good. Dump it. Get it all out. Do a brain dump. And then leave a space where you can keep writing those ideas that come to you in that space for that idea, for that project. Then write out the next actionable step. Then number 3, pick which steps you will do this week. Of those next actionable steps, and where I put them is on this right in front of my binder. This is like my desk that travels with me. I put them right here on a Post-it note, and then just keep clicking it away. It's also on my phone, where whenever an idea comes to me driving or whatever, instead of hanging on to it, I write it. I tell Siri to put it on a list right away, because then I'm going to take those lists and put them onto these lists, and it just clears your brain. It gives you it's so peaceful and delicious. Okay, pick which steps you'll do this week, and put those on a list where you can see them. And then if you have another minute, I want you to listen to the Be 100% Responsible talk by Lindsay Robbins. And I'll go ahead and put that in the email. I am so grateful that we're in class together. It is so much fun to be in this material and to be with you. And I appreciate everything that you bring to class. So thanks so much. We'll see you on Friday. I can't wait.